All right, I guess we're ready to get started. John, are you good? All right. So welcome to the power and the problem of now. Wenda did a great job with the kids, teaching them the only power that you have is right now. I love the clock idea because that covers it. Around the clock, the only thing you can do is work in the now. The problem is, how easy is it to keep our mind focused on the now, right? We're either thinking about future or past or whatever it is. So today, I'm going to need 3 volunteers at least to come on up. And before you do, it involves ropes. So that may be exciting to you or it may not be. Right. So I need 3 people. It can't be shy. It's just going to have a rope around you, and you got to come up. We have 2. 1 more. That's right. How exciting, right? All right. All right. I like the way you're set up right here. So I forgot your name. Patty, if you would come on this side. Lorraine, if you would be in the middle. Melinda. All right. So what we're going to do, this is called a structural conflict. If you look at your paper, this is the present condition, the now, right? So Lorraine probably, in her current reality, has something that she'd really like to accomplish. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure she has something, right? All right, so if you would hold that. What we're going to do, how exciting. Yes. Just hold on to it. But I'm going to put this around you if it works. It's a little long, a little too long. Okay. And if you would just, no, you can just hold on to it. But let's get it so it's some tension there. All right. How's that feel, okay?
Pretty good.
Okay, put a little more tension in there.
Oh, okay.
So this is the current reality. Is Lorraine has something that she wants to accomplish. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes.
Just give
Yes. Over COVID, I lost 35 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I've lost and found 35 pounds multiple times in my life. So this time, I want to accomplish stabilizing and not finding them again.
Wonderful. So in that desire, there's a tension there. She isn't there yet, right? This is an in-between. So this is called a creative tension. Now, there are several ways to deal with that creative tension. If you look on your sheet here, you have coping strategies, all right? So one of the ways that Lorraine could accomplish this is to let her vision erode. That means that if you can just take a step toward her.
Take it all off. Yeah.
You can see how the tension is relaxed and Lorraine can reach her goals. But does that really accomplish what you really wanted? You've eroded your goals. That won't work, right? But as a coping strategy, we try, we go back and forth on the weight.
Going back to my old eating lifestyle, it's not going to work.
So you can see that as a coping strategy, eroding your vision is not really what you want to do. The second one is conflict manipulation, which means avoiding what we don't want, failure. So what we don't want is to have to buy new clothes, so we use the conflict to instill fear in us. Oh, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to change my diet, or give up on my diet. If you could step back, because we're not eroding the goal anymore. All right? So that's another way that we can cope with the vision, yes?
Eroding your vision of it is backtracking through fear.
Well, it can be a lot of reasons, but it's like, well, I can't, that's not a realistic expectation that I have. Yes, yes, all right. Typically, this is done in a lot of ways. You know, in our government, we have a war on drugs. That's a conflict manipulation to make you afraid about drugs. So that's something that is used, is to manipulate that issue of drug use. The third is willpower. Has anyone tried willpower to reach a goal before? And how did that work? Well, the interesting thing is, yes, it can work. But willpower typically has unintended side effects. It doesn't always work. We see this in a job situation where you're trying to get a promotion and you work really, 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 really hard. And you sacrifice. Isn't that something that you have to do with willpower? You sacrifice things, and what ends up happening, you may be working hard and neglecting your family. And you go home someday and nobody's there. But you got your goal. And then you say, well, I did get my goal, willpower did work, maybe I can use it in this situation to lose weight in a permanent way. And, well, you know, sitting down on the TV and getting a snack is just too tempting. Or there might be some other way that your willpower erodes. And so that doesn't necessarily work. Marjorie.
I would say willpower would for me sometimes leaves me feeling deprived.
Feeling deprived.
Opens the door to
Exactly. And it doesn't change the powerlessness of the situation, because you're really powerless to other things. Like you said, I might feel just totally exhausted. Yes.
And it also creates more tension.
And creates more tension. And who wants to live that way? Yes.
And it requires your attention. As soon as you take your attention off of it, it's gone.
It's gone.
If something else draws your attention away, then you're no longer on track.
Exactly. Steve Jobs was once asked if he's terribly driven to reach his goals. And he said, not in the least. Not in the least. My vision pulls me toward it. So there's got to be an element of passion that you really, really, really want that. Yeah. Now, if we were like Steve Jobs and really, really wanted something and let it pull us toward it, then everybody would automatically reach their goal, right? Mm-hmm. The challenge, if you want to take that,
Yes.
is that's not the only part of the dynamic in play here. We also have, you would take it step back, keep going, keep going. Okay, let's be gentle here. Okay, let's get some tension on that. So this part of the equation is called your anchoring tension. Anchoring tension. If you take a step toward your goal, what happens?
Oh my gosh. I feel restricted,
Restricted.
like I can't get there.
So over here we have our limited beliefs. Our limited beliefs. Now let me ask you, Lorraine, are there any beliefs that you have that might limit you in reaching?
Yeah, I could say, I just can't do this anymore. I just want to go back to, eating a lot at night in front of the TV.
Anything else?
I may not be worthy enough to keep this goal.
Can we have another volunteer? Okay. Lynn, if you would stick this.
Oh.
Put a little tension on it. Now we have two limiting beliefs over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I can't do it.
I want to go back to my old ways.
I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy.
Yes.
I like ice cream.
You see, we can have a whole bunch of people up here.
I like pizza.
All of a sudden, she starts being pulled back. Being pulled back. Does anyone feel like this is their current reality?
Oh, I just wanted to offer something as a potential language change. You said you lost 35 pounds. And so if you lost something, typically we want to find something that you lost.
Release,
So you
Released.
And then there's nothing that you're putting out in the universe saying that you want to find it. You
Right.
release it and you don't get it back. It's released.
Can you see that there's a lot going on in something very simple, right? Bringing up loss is a great thing. That's more of a conflict manipulation, right? I don't want to go back. And so that's going to drive me toward my goal. And all of these things can work a little bit. So the question is, where's the leverage in this?
Drop the rope.
Well, in a sense, that's correct. Yes?
You can't solve a problem at the level of a problem. You have to look at a different paradigm. And I've coped with weight things all my whole life. I think we're on that. Probably everybody has different times. I want to differentiate between the word mind and think.
Mm-hmm.
You have conflicting thoughts, but then also conflicting feelings. I'm in emotional pain. I haven't breathed it out yet. I'm going to eat instead. That'll fix it. So we're responding to an unconscious quantity of emotional pain, and we're anesthetizing it with a drug. Food is a drug. And until we've cried it all out, or cried enough of it out, or get a handle on, being able to consciously cry or not cry, selecting those choices instead of not having an awareness to make a choice and crying or eating, we're going to have this unconscious thing in mind. And it's not the level of exercise or fashion or conscious choices.
So what she said. You see, the leverage is on this end, at the limiting beliefs, feelings, thoughts, emotions, all of those things. And the understanding is that we didn't put all of those things there ourselves. Culture does it. For example, being a full-bodied person in this culture is, you're often a target, right? And that's a cultural thing. Other beliefs, like you said, I'm not worthy. That's another cultural belief. Some of them may have been installed when you were very young. And so this doesn't happen overnight. It requires significant work. Yes?
There's another thing too, being in the now. And if you're eating ice cream, I'll keep eating ice cream.
Tomorrow I'll start. Right now, this ice cream just tastes so good, right?
I just did that.
See, the truth comes out. So are there any other limiting beliefs?
I'm not loved.
I'm not loved. I'm not loved. So suddenly we've gone beyond, what the vision really, there's something on the other side of the vision that we're really looking for, a deeper thought or feeling that we really want to rectify.
It's too hard, I'll never do it.
Can we have somebody else? So it's too hard, I'll never do it. Oh, so you're too hard, I'll never do it?
It's too
Okay.
hard.
I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy?
I don't know what.
What was your first one? I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't keep doing it. Yes.
I have a picture of myself and that picture won't change.
Say that again.
I have a picture of myself and that picture won't change.
That's a great one. I see myself losing 35 and gaining 35 and going back and forth, and that's the picture I have in my head, right? The leverage is over here, so what can we do? We can begin a practice that perhaps we go to classes, we go to workshops, we come here, and we recognize that I can be loved. And as soon as one of those things releases the tension, you move in that direction. Yes?
There may be different reasons why you want to lose 35 pounds. I mean, sometimes I have to examine the goal as
It may be somebody else's vision. Yeah, yeah, yes.
In my Italian family, my mother always said, eat, you'll feel better.
Eat, you'll feel better. So that's a cultural thing. Yeah, yeah. And how many dishes did they bring out on Sundays? I know. That's my heritage as well. And they were all delicious. And then Aunt Lee would bring her eggplant. See. My mother made a spaghetti marinara with squid, stuffed squid in it. We had that typically on Good Friday. Yeah? Well, none of us kids learned to do it either. So Lorraine, is this helpful?
Yes.
Okay. You guys can drop the ropes. I think we made the point here.
Thank you.
Let's give them a hand. Yes, Marjorie.
Found that sometimes just recognizing the limiting belief takes away part of its power. And sometimes then examining it further and saying, is this really true?
Exactly.
This is from my childhood, this is from society, this is from, can assist letting it go.
So we recognize these limiting beliefs. The next step is committing to the truth, of recognizing that this is the job before me. This is what I am here to do, is root out the ways that we habitually deceive ourselves. Root out the ways that we're putting obstacles in our path that nobody put there. Or as they, how do they say, yes, you're triggered by me doing this, but I didn't install the buttons. Someone else installed those buttons, whether it's culturally or through your experience. Yes, Sylvia.
My mother installed a button. I was very, very heavy, and she would tell me that if you do not become thin by the time you're 25, you'll be fat for the rest of your life.
Brutal. Brutal.
And
But
what,
her intentions were good.
I don't think so. But the thing is, I went to a 12-step program, and by the time I was 25, I had lost 100 pounds. I mean, excuse me, I had released 100 pounds. Which I attribute it to the power of mind.
Sure.
She instilled that in me, and somehow, with my mind, when I went to the 12-step program, I was going to release it.
Yeah. So the first step, when you commit to the truth, that means simply acknowledging that these things are there. There's a tremendous power in simply becoming more aware and acknowledging and looking at that and questioning, I will not be fat for my entire life, despite what my mother said. And that can be the start of releasing that anchoring tension. Yes?
Sometimes you have expectations, and it's like you think if you lose the 35 pounds, something's going to change. So that's another thing to get in touch with, because
It is.
that's one reason you might be doing it, having an expectation of something happening.
Yes. And so there's work to do on either end, but we're starting with committing to the truth and looking at the limiting beliefs, discovering what those limiting beliefs are, acknowledging them, recognizing the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are attached to them. Because it might also help on the other end, which is the vision. The vision may not be our vision, it may be somebody else's idea of who we're supposed to be. Right? So it's asking ourselves on that end is, and where's Lorraine? If you got to that point of stabilizing and controlling your weight, what would that get you?
Oh, I would just be so happy and free of my food addiction. Happy and free of my food addiction. Yes.
And why is that important?
Because I would just feel like I'd accomplished so much, and that would be my vision of me being whole, perfect, and complete.
And why is that important?
Because that is my purpose.
That is a purpose.
Would you be healthy?
Yes.
You see, beyond the wanting to stabilize the weight, it's wanting to recognize that the end result is I'm perfect, whole, and complete. And that might drive more passion than anything else. So we want to ask that question on the other end is, if I got that, what would that mean to me? And the answer to that, you ask yourself, like we did with why do you come here? You ask yourself why 4 times or 3 times, it doesn't matter. But you drill down into uncovering a deeper desire than just the apparent losing of the weight or stabilizing the weight or getting the better job or whatever it is that we really want to do. There's something that's richer and deeper over there. But we can start with right where we're at, is I want a better job, right? And then looking at, okay, if I'm going to tell the truth, what are my limiting beliefs? Well, I don't have a master's degree. Or I really don't like this company that I'm working for, which may then say, maybe I need a different job, or a job where I'm appreciated or recognized, you know. So you're working either end, but the major commitment is to look at the structural conflicts that we've created in our lives. One of them may be a paradigm. Has anyone ever gone to a gym and hired a trainer and they've said, no pain, no gain? That's a cultural thing that at least was accepted through the 90s. Or the idea that in order to lose weight, you have to exercise a lot. That's been disproven. Exercise is not necessarily a guarantee that you'll lose any weight, right? In fact, many times you'll put on weight because you're increasing your muscle mass. Another that I like, I've referred to it before, is the BRULES, B-R-U-L-E-S, the bullshit rules that we've embraced all our lives. Like in marriage, you have to marry someone of a different sex, or you have to marry someone of the same religion, or you have to marry someone of the same race. All of those rules that we grew up with, and I still see it now. You know, in my visit with my family, you know, you ask some questions and these things come up and it's like, who said you had to do that? Right? So are those things, what are the rules that you've inherited and what are the rules that have been passed on by the culture? You could probably think of them as you think of a particular, it's like the glass ceiling in corporations and the challenge that women have breaking through the glass ceiling. That's been imposed on women for the last decades or millennia. I just said millennias. Yeah. So this is new for women to overcome this race consciousness piece of subjugation and less than. Even with the understanding that the most powerful women in the past were the goddesses of the temples, you know, the Artemis and that gang. The most frightening thing I think about bullshit rules is, do we automatically pass them on to our kids? Yeah. I don't know if you see any of that, Wenda, with the children that you work with, but it's amazing how they step into line around the age of 7. You know, until then, they're pretty free spirits, but then the parents are like, you know, you got to behave. You got to color inside the lines on your coloring book. Well, that isn't who I am. I want to express more than just filling in the blanks. you know. So do we pass these things on to our children? And where does that come from? Race consciousness, enculturation, it can be a lot of things. And we know that some religions are more strict than others, and what they pass on to their kids, I mean, it's just, in some cases, horrible. Another structural conflict that we may set up is patterns of behavior, arguments for limitation, like, tell me if you've ever heard this one. If you want something done right, we know that one, don't we? And so what happens then? You're overwhelmed. You end up doing everything. And if that becomes a habit that you respond to, and successfully, you may even be the arsonist in the organization putting out fires because it fulfills your purpose.
Wait a second, an arsonist doesn't put out fires.
Well, the arsonist will start the fire and you come to the rescue because that's what you're good at doing.
And then you never ask for help.
You never ask for help. And then the spotlight's on you. Look how good you are. And believe me, this is more widespread than you know. I've seen it in corporations and small businesses where we can root out an arsonist and things change right away. It's a real challenge when the CEO is the arsonist.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've had, let me see what else I have conceptually. Committing to the truth can also be a generative force. That means it can create more. Like we said, it can change the nature of your vision, unleash more passion to getting there. When you release that unworthiness as a limited belief, all of a sudden, your current reality can start changing. People recognize in you that you're no longer willing to accept that unworthiness that you did in the past. That's an interesting dynamic in a family. So some of the practices. What are some practices that you think might help on limited beliefs and your current reality?
See a practitioner.
See a practitioner, yay! We love it. Rent someone else's consciousness. You know, Mary Mannon Morrissey, you know who she is, right? She tells a wonderful story in her prosperity program about when she was 17, I think. She had kidney failure and her other kidney was failing. And the doctor said, you know, at best you're going to get a couple of months and you're going to die. And there was a woman that came in that was a practitioner. I don't know whether she was Unity or religious science. It doesn't really matter. But this woman came in and said, well, you know, we can change that. And she was so passionate about telling Mary this story that Mary didn't believe her. But she believed that the practitioner believed it. And they worked together for a short period of time. And when the doctors went in to remove the diseased kidney, they didn't see it. And she's the testimony to it today. She'll tell you that story. She'll tell you that story, yes.
Norman Cousins wrote the book, The Anatomy of an Illness. Use your mind, use your emotions, go check into a hotel room and watch cartoons for 3 months and laugh yourself well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of evidence that shifting your thinking can really change your body experience. And there's skepticism by the medical establishment that says that there's not necessarily that connection. And so who are you going to believe? I'm going to choose to change my thinking and change my life because I've seen it enough.
You have to make your visions realistic. Nobody can leap tall buildings at a single bound.
So making the vision realistic. And the way that I would put that is you want to break that big, hairy, audacious goal because you want one of those because that's where the passion is. Something that scares the bejesus out of you. And then recognize I can do this one step at a time with help, with continued practice on rooting out the ways that we deceive ourselves with all this nonsense. And I shouldn't say nonsense because it's very real. It's there. So we have to acknowledge that it's there and be willing to transform it. So practices. The Buddhists have the pure observation to watch yourself, right? Watch what you're doing. Watch what you're thinking. Watch what you're feeling, right? Hindus are witnessing. It's much the same, but you're a witness to all this, acting out all this behavior, or acting out when you're triggered, or observing when you're triggered, like I did at the celebration of my mother's passing, where I saw that and I was triggered by it, and I said, okay, this is an opportunity for me to go deeper, to look at this honestly and see, what is this about? Why can't I accept recognition? Why can't I accept a compliment? Why is that so hard? What am I putting in the way there? And that can go deep into how you're raised, the culture. You know, the culture doesn't like a braggart. But those aren't the same things, right? So it's interesting how you can go from not accepting a compliment to nobody likes a braggart. Those are the same thing, right? So we have to have a willingness to look at that. Another is meditation, right? Can we really have a practice? Because we're changing behavior here, so it's got to be a practice. A class on meditation isn't going to be enough. Once a week isn't going to be enough. It's got to become habitual, because if the ways that we habitually deceived ourselves are a habit, then the only way to break a habit is to change it. Another way to look at that is it's a habit of thought. Attitude is a habit of thought. And so if we want to change the attitude, we have to change the habit of how we chronically think about ourselves. And that can be done through meditation, through treatment, through witnessing. All of those things are part and parcel of it. And we already talked about the vision and what we can do on the other end. Marjorie.
I was just going to say, I find it helpful to write an affirmation about the vision and then listen to all the buts that come up. Mm-hmm. But this, but that. Write them down, look at them, and find a way of diffusing them, because that's just not true in most cases.
And the buts are all of those limited beliefs that we need to pay attention to. So that's all I have to say about it. We're going to do an exercise now where you see on your sheet you have limiting belief, current reality, and then you have health, finances, relationships, and SEX. And that's not sex, it's self-expression. Darn it. So what I'd like to invite you to do is pick one of those areas. And your assignment will be to pick all of those areas, but pick one for now. In terms of what is your current reality regarding finances, say? What would you really like to accomplish? What is your vision about finances? And then write down your limited beliefs. And you can go through all 4 of those if you'd like. Did you have a question?
Yeah, can you, what do you mean by self-expression or sex?
Self-expression is, normally you would say career. Career is a form of self-expression. But if you're retired, you say, well, I don't have a career, so you can let yourself off the hook. Well, what are you doing for self-expression? What are you doing to bring your fullness of experience to, let's say, this community? So another exercise you can do is in terms of the current reality of this center. You know, what is the vision? And then what are the limited beliefs about getting a new minister or the future of this community? So that might be another exercise. So we'll take about 10 minutes to do that, where you can just take your time, and if anyone needs a pen, I've got a couple up here, if you don't have one. Hopefully it works. Over here, Wenda. I think we're good, Pam. Thank you, Wenda. Any questions before you dive in?
We take one of the 4 areas or some other area and we write down our limiting belief and the current reality of the situation?
The current reality, and then specifically what is the vision in that area, and then what are the limited beliefs. So you also want to be clear on that current reality, that you write down what the issue is. For example, my bank account is empty before the end of the month. You know, if you're working on finances, what is the current condition? need another one, right? Try that one. We'll take a couple more minutes. And I want to recognize that this work can trigger some things for you. And if the practitioners would raise their hand. So if there's something that's going on, I urge you to check in with the practitioner, because this can bring up stuff and you need to work on that with somebody. It's not easy work, and the reason that I take time to do it is because if I just hand the sheet out, you'll take it home with an intention of doing it later, and unlikely that you'll spend time doing it, because it'll just be maybe on the top of the stack with other papers that you really want to take a look at, but we know what happens. So we'll just take a couple more minutes. Okay. All right, I'd invite you to find a place that you can stop. Did anyone have a challenge with filling in any limited beliefs? No. Any surprises? No. Yes. Feels real. And that's the first step, is just to really acknowledge that they're there. And that starts the process of releasing you from the tension that they're holding in your life. Because that's where the leverage is. Remember, we talked. If you can relieve that anchoring tension, you can move toward whatever it is you want to accomplish. Yes. Charge. The most limiting beliefs. Yeah. And you know, I like to think of them as thoughts, feelings, and emotions. There's energy there. That's like a stake in the ground. That's what that picture is. It's a stake in the ground. And it's just holding you there. All that energy that's just capturing your life and preventing you from moving forward. Anyone else have any? Yes.
I've been in the self-development world forever, since just after the Civil War. And,
I remember you.
yeah, exactly. So my health, I've got that handled. I've worked my way through all those things. My self-expression, yeah, I've got that handled. My finances, absolutely, got that handled forever. It's not even, it's like not even an air that I breathe. Relationships. How can you, that's relying on other people to handle something, part of it, some part of, right. That's my problem.
Well, is it?
Yeah,
Is
that,
it external to you?
well, I can't get other people to behave themselves. I can't get other people to prioritize enlightenment or self-development or psychology or recovery or doing grief work or, you know, embracing the things that you have to do to stop being a dick. Do you know what I mean? Right. And so I have this limiting belief that they're just not going to catch up and there's nobody for me. Nope, they're just not going to behave themselves, they're not going to try to behave themselves, they're not going to try to catch up, and they're just going to muddy everything they touch and stay away. Stay away. Thank you for letting me share.
Well, and that's got to be frustrating, and you know, despite all your efforts, you're still not breaking through on that, and that's got to be a challenge.
I had a therapist once, I respected her a lot, and she said, when you're completely enlightened, you won't care that they're not. I'm not there yet. We're here. You know, I don't think that's true. There's not gonna be a time when I can watch them do destructive things and be okay with it.
And if you're completely enlightened, you don't need this plane of action.
Plane of action.
Plane, P-L-A-N-E,
Plane of action.
right? You've ascended this plane of action if you're enlightened. Nobody's there.
I'm not out looking. I'm not looking for that. It's just a non-issue. Trying to align myself with others is not even an issue in my life. It's like they don't exist.
Yeah. And yet still there's the desire to connect. Or not.
Patriarchy is as prevalent as the molecules in the air that we breathe. The rules that create the sickness is so prevalent, I cannot honestly say I want to connect with any portion of those brainwashed by it.
And yet there's still something in the desire to connect.
You know, it's kind of like a Santa Claus fairy tale wish.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be nice if Santa Claus came? But I don't
Yeah.
actually believe it. But I do not, right.
Well, but you elicited that one as where the pain is.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be the angst. There's still angst
Yeah.
becoming. That is unfulfilled. And I have no control over persons, places, and things. You know, like we say in program. We have no,
So where's the leverage?
I don't see it.
Okay.
And of course, no one takes kindly to my suggestions.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah. Well, and you don't need the entire patriarchy. You need one person. You know, it's like when people say, oh, I've got to get a new job and I've put in 17 applications, and what are you looking for? You're looking for one job. If we can get really clear on what that one thing is, and then why do we want it? So that would be my only suggestion, is diving deeper on the whys of the relation. Why do you want that? Might be a place to do some discovery. Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
We all have questions that we don't have answers to, but I believe that everybody has those answers. We've just put blockages in the way so we can't see the answers. Once we remove the blockages, we can see the answers.
Yes. Absolutely. We put our bloated nothingness in the way of the divine circuits. The bloated nothingness being all those blockages, all of those yeah buts, all of those yeah but the system is screwed up, or whatever it is. If we really focus on the power that is within us, the power of this, and I said orgasmic explosion in my talk today, because it is. It's what kind of thing could develop this energy that created 14 billion years ago and is part and parcel of every cell in our bodies? How can we say, what I want is impossible? How dare we say that? If we believe in this philosophy, it brings us to a point of, I've got to let it all go. Mary Baker Eddy, no. Emma Curtis Hopkins, teacher of teachers is who she was. Ernest Holmes was one of her last students. The people from Unity, Nona Brooks was Divine Science. They all studied under Emma. And she had a case of laryngitis, and she did all of her treatment work. And you can imagine somebody that's teacher of teachers doing this kind of work. But she just could not get over this laryngitis. And finally she said, I give up. I'm not even going to try anymore. If this is how I'm supposed to live, then I release it and I will live happily with laryngitis the rest of my life. And as soon as she did that, laryngitis was gone. So I don't know what to tell you except that it takes work, and it takes the realization that what we may think we need to do isn't what we need to do at all. It's devoting ourselves to this power and this presence within us. What do you want me to do, God? What is mine to do? Who am I to be? Regardless of what I want, what is it in the Bible? I think it says, your will, not mine, something along those lines. At some point, if we're stuck like that, maybe we need to surrender.
I have scoliosis. I don't even like to say it. And I walk, my gait is off. But what I came to is, came up with an affirmation that I walk in alignment with grace and ease, but at the same time, acceptance. Acceptance of that. And I mean, I exercise, I do balance stuff. So I'm doing everything that I need to do, and it's acceptance of that.
And affirming. And affirming. That's the other part of it is, it's with this COVID thing, there's so much emphasis on the facts of the pandemic. And I rarely hear much about treatment about health. Why can't we talk about the vibrant health and vitality that we were born from? The health that I experience every day in everything that I do. I walk with grace and ease. I can interact with people fearlessly because I am supported and supplied by an infinite intelligence that inspires, guides, and supports me wherever I go, whoever I interact with. If we had more of that, we'd have less health challenges. That's my belief, because I have a knowledge of the power and intelligence that governs, guides, and supports us in everything that we do. And I will not back down from that despite any argument to the contrary, because I've been there and done that. There are a lot of logical reasons. I pay attention to what the experts say on pandemic, and they're confused because it's a confusing thing. Most people say, well, why doesn't everybody get it? It's a bell curve. The bulk of the population is in the middle. The vaccine is designed to work with the people in the middle. There's going to be people on either end of the bell curve that have symptoms or are asymptomatic or whatever it is. The science is there. The science is confusing because the population is confused. It's the same thing with economics or anything else. What is it that you want? I want prosperity. I want to see abundance in everywhere that I go. Do we bring our attention to those things or on not enough? There's too much attention put on not enough. I don't have enough money to do this. I don't have enough brains to do that. You know, I'm not as eloquent a speaker as many of the speakers that you've had here. I'm not as intelligent as many of them. I don't care. I have something to give here, some knowledge of this power. And you guys can accept it or not, but it's not going to stop me from doing it. It's not going to... What other people think of me is none of my business. That's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. What you think of me is none of my business. I'm here to give the gift that I can, the best that I can. And I appreciate this opportunity to be before you. Because I know for some people it's going to just, something's going to resonate that'll make a difference. And that's enough. So that brings us to our close. What I'd like to do is to end with the treatment, and I'll take requests. So if you have something that, just one word, that you'd like to treat for, just shout it out.
A dear friend of mine just lost her husband, so comfort for that.
Comfort.
Worry.
Worry. Comfort and worry. Interesting. Health. Comfort, worry, trust, health. So I just say everything. Acceptance. Okay. All right, so I invite everybody to take a big deep breath. As we do that, our physiology changes. We become more receptive to an idea, more receptive to a feeling, that there is only one life. That is the life of spirit, God, whatever you choose to call it. That life is perfect, and that life is my life and your life right here, right now, in this auspicious moment where we can just breathe again and relax. Knowing that we are embraced by this divine intelligence, this unconditional love, this infinite wisdom that simply wants to bring us to the fullest expression of who we have come here to be. And I look at all those places, all those limiting beliefs of worry, fear, doubt, and I realize that I have sent energy into those areas. And I am the one that has animated all of that energy, all of those considerations. And it is by action of this treatment that I pull that energy back to center, back to that place of knowing, back to that place of conviction and commitment that God is all there is. That I am inspired, guided, and supported by this intelligence, by this wisdom, to know that everything is in divine right order. I can step into that truth boldly and with conviction that there is perfect health and vitality for me, that every cell in my body realigns with that idea of perfection. I can stand up straight and walk with grace and ease. I can move through life with confidence. I know that there is no limit to abundance in my life, and so I bring my attention to the things that I already have in my life. And as I focus on that, more is added. I let go of that energy of not enoughness and let it fall dissolve into the nothingness from which it came. For my God is bigger than that. And I know for anyone who is in pain and suffering that there is always comfort. And without saying a word, I can bring that comfort, I can bring that love, I can bring that joy, I can bring that happiness. I can bring that determination of safety and trust to everyone that I meet. And I know that what I have to give to life is accepted and acceptable, so that I no longer have to strive to express who I am, because I was created by a divine intelligence, and God don't make junk. And so I straighten my back. I deliver with deep love the gifts that I have to give. And I know that that is returned to me multiplied abundantly. That is the recognition that I seek, and I see the rewards of changed thinking. And most importantly, I step into a greater understanding and deepness of love. I open my heart wide to accept myself and who I have come here to be. That there is only love in my heart for all of creation. And I fan the flame in my heart for the God in creation, knowing that there is no end of love in God, so there can be no end of love in me. And I don't have to worry about it running out because it is infinite. And so I can give it all away. So I take another big, deep breath. I allow myself to be embraced by these words, by this intention, that all is well. And so claiming that for myself and every other person in this room, every other person that is in the Seal Beach community, everyone in Southern California is blessed by my understanding of who I have come here to be. And as we do that in community, this world is transformed. And so knowing that, accepting that, I can release this into the law of mind, knowing that it is already done for me and for everyone else. And I let it be so, and together we say, and so it is. Thank you for being here.